DTFF.
Once again, here is Drinking and Talking Fantasy Football with your hosts, Dustin Lunt and Jake Trowbridge.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday. If you're joining us live, happy whatever day it is, whenever you are listening to this. DTFF is back. We're happy to be here. Got a great show for you all this evening. We are talking fantasy eulogies, players that we are leaving for dead after this last fantasy season. So we're going to do some of that and then do a little draft action. Another fun draft for you, a little 2000 sitcom draft to round out the show. But before we get into any of that, Jake, my co-host, how goes it this evening?
So good. So wet. It's really rainy outside, and I try to think of the weirdest way to announce that to everybody. And so I'm, it's spring, I guess, quote unquote, is what that means, because it's all rainy and shit. But
better than snow.
Yeah, I guess.
No, it
by
is.
like
Don't
10 degrees.
Don't even.
I'm sorry. I would just prefer sunshine all the time. I don't know.
Who wouldn't?
Need to move to Arizona or something. But I'm not going to do that. Let's be honest.
Okay. Fair enough.
Anyways, how are you?
Doing all right. I'm here. I'm loving it. Talking fantasy football. What else can I say?
You can say the words that I've been waiting to hear you say ever since we made some beer bets last season. But you don't have to jump right into that. We can do that a little bit later. I just want to put that right on top of your mind.
I'm staring right at it. It's not going to go away here. Jake, why don't you tell us what we're drinking first before I get into making up my one of my beer bets here?
Absolutely. We'll get the good stuff out of the way. So we are having from Delta Beer Lab, once again, love them, a honey red ale. Very, very different. I've never had anything that's quite like this. Had a sip or two before we hopped on the pod, and I got to say, I am a big-time fan of this. It's got that nice, thick redness to it that you want to see. Some malty goodness. But what do you think, Dustin?
Yeah, I think it's a okay beer. I mean, it's not that I dislike it. I just don't know that I'd have more than like a pint of it. But it's not a bad beer by any means. It's just not my wheelhouse of styles I like.
Is it the sweetness?
Yeah, it's a little caramely, a little sweet. Yeah. But it's not bad. It's not a bad beer. Just like I said, not in my wheelhouse of beers I would choose to drink on a regular basis.
See, this is like a top 3 beer style for me. Red ales, it's my jam. If I can get me a good red ale into my life, whether they got a little hop to them or not, that's what I want. I want to be a part of that every day. Well, not every day, but every beer drinking day, I want a red ale in my gullet.
I think that's fair. It's not a bad way to live your life. I'm kind of jealous.
Yum yum yum. Yum, yum, yum. So we have a 4.5 star rating compared to what I'm going to assume is like, I don't know, like a 2.5 star rating for you. If we had to put it in numbers,
I'd say probably 3. It's middle of the road.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's better than no beer, certainly.
Absolutely. 100% better than no beer.
The high bar we're trying to clear here. Well, look, at least you brought something else for yourself to drink then. You can look at it that way if we want to transition right into this beer bet payout, which I do.
Yeah, let's just get this out of the way here. I decided I'm finally got to start paying these off. I've got 2 more to do. No, 4 more to do. I lied.
It seemed slight, but I didn't want to say anything. I'm already piling on here.
Yeah. So the first one I'm paying off here goes way back to episode 136, where you said that Evan Ingram would be a top 12 tight end in points per game, and this was made pre-trade to Jacksonville. And he crushed it. He had a great season. I like the spot for him. I hope he sticks around in Jacksonville because I think that's a much better fit than what they were looking at in New York, obviously, and it's only going to continue to get better there. The team's going to continue to ascend. One of my favorite offenses to be a part of. So, yeah, you won that one, Jake. You're an amazing fantasy football prognosticator / genius. Cheers.
Thanks, man. I'll cheers to you. I'll drink my beer while you're doing that because that's I did benefit 1000% from that trade. But if you think that's going to nullify this in my heart in any way, oh, it
No,
won't. It
no.
won't at all.
A bet is a bet. Thanks again to Fireball. Not a sponsor yet of the show, but hopefully someday will be, for providing that shot again.
Hashtag nearly a sponsor. All right. Well, before we jump into the meat of the episode, we're going to do a little bit of free agency updates here too.
Mhm.
There was a few interesting moves, a lot of news that we're still waiting on, but some interesting things. But before we even do that, we have to go back to our favorite segment, the drunk trade of the week.
Let's do it.
Drunk, hammered drunk.
Drunk trade of the week.
Dustin, I'd gotten so excited that I prematurely entered the drunk trade into our before, but now we can do it in earnest. This week's comes from Mr. Wash His Hands on Reddit. I don't want to know any background to that name at all. Normally I try to speculate. I don't want to do it.
I think it's just COVID safety, washing your hands all the time.
Okay, I hope so. But 10-team PPR Superflex Dynasty League, all the good stuff, they say was plastered. And this was the trade I did around week 4 of last year. Gave up CD Lamb and Damian Harris, received Jerry Jeudy, Rondale Moore, the 109, and a mid-second round pick this year. Don't know why the official second isn't listed
Right.
there. I guess, I don't know, simplicity's sake. In any case, they say lost that trade initially, which isn't too bad given my state of mind, but I ended up including parts of this trade in 3 separate trades for Jamar Chase. So this is a building block trade that kicked things off to ultimately get Jamar Chase. Now, I don't know the full details of that, but they say I'm content in the end.
I would kind of like to know how he ended up with Jamar Chase out of this trade.
Yeah, I'm going to have to follow up with Mr. Wash His Hands and see if we can get a follow-up for next week's episode to get...
Yeah, I'm just morbid curiosity here. I mean, going from CD Lamb to Jamar Chase, I mean, I like that a lot. So
I do as well.
I want to know how shrewd he was in his trading and what he had to give up to get there. So
yeah, well, it's a long haul. Yeah, 3 separate trades. You got to have the patient long game sometimes in Dynasty. So I do appreciate that. But before we even get to the Jamar Chase of it all, I'm curious for this individual trade. So CD Lamb, of course, fantastic last year, had a much improved season. And he was already looking good, as a rookie. He had made some pretty big strides for Dynasty's sake. Last year, though, really felt like a true breakout year for him. And then Damian Harris, that was an unfortunate situation with his injuries. And now he has moved on from New England. Hard to say what his role will be this year. But compare that to Jerry Jeudy, which was kind of the only bright spot on the Broncos team for quite some time last year. Rondale Moore, who I know you were big on, or somewhat, per one of our other beer bets last year. And then the 109, the mid-second. So straight up here, which side would you take?
I think I would take... I think I would... Oh, God.
Neither. You're going to say neither or both. I want all of the pieces.
My brain says the CD Lamb side, but my heart says the Jerry Jeudy side. only because my brain says CD Lamb because you're getting the best player in the trade, and that's typically what you want to do.
Yep.
But I like the pieces of, okay, when you look at it this way, you get Jerry Jeudy and say the 109 for CD Lamb, and then it's Damian Harris for Rondale Moore in a second. I mean, I think you're making out on that piece of it. So I don't think it's that you lost the trade that poorly, to be honest. Jerry Jeudy, I have confidence that he's going to rebound this year with what should be an improved offense with Sean Payton there. Another season with Russell Wilson. I mean, there is rumor that one of those wide receivers could get traded off that team. So hopefully it's not Jeudy, because I think him and Russ could cook together. Rondale Moore, probably not a big piece there, but there could be some upside. He's still fairly young. The 109 in a second. I mean, I like those two picks. So that's why my heart goes with the Jerry Jeudy side.
Yeah, I can understand why your heart would say such a thing, because Jerry Jeudy, I think, has so much untapped potential where he could ascend to the level of CD Lamb for fantasy. And I wouldn't be shocked by that. I wouldn't be shocked by that at all. But it's the same thing with those picks. Yes, those picks could be magnificent. The old thing that we've always said, yes, it could be anything. It could even be a boat. Yes, that's all true. And that's true for Jerry Jeudy to some extent as well. Like you said, he could cook with Russell, or he could get traded, which I don't know. There's been really a lot of backing down from that recently from Sean Payton, suggesting that they won't do that. Rondale Moore, I think, is getting more interesting because DeAndre Hopkins likely will be traded or maybe even cut because of his contract. So DeAndre Hopkins gone. I mean, I understand his quarterback situation is possibly a poopy for quite some time, but as I'd rather have him above Damian Harris in Buffalo. I don't want running backs in Buffalo. I'm still not. I don't care. I'm never going to be on that train. So Damian Harris might as well be a early third round pick for me. That's the value I place on him. So I would also slightly err on the side of Jeudy. So I don't think, Mr. Wash his hands, that you really lost even this initial trade. I know it might feel that way, and especially the fact that you got Jamar Chase down the road. I think that you ultimately won this thing. But I even think here there's an argument to be made for the side that he got. But ultimately depends a little bit on what they draft as well, which is fun. Yep. And we'll be diving into all the rookie analysis, in future episodes. So that will be useful, as rookie drafts are, right around the corner, because the NFL draft is right around the corner, which is fun.
It is. I can't wait. Oh.
Fucking wait.
So yeah, Mr. Wash your hand. I don't think you lost the trade as bad as you think you did. And the fact that you're able to move on from that trade and turn it into Jamar Chase, I really appreciate as well. So good job all around. That's right. Bully to you.
Hollywood Titan in the chat saying, Judy. I don't know if that's you agreeing or just really wanting to do the Judy. But either way, I'm happy about it. So that's great. All right. Okay. Do you want to do a few quick free agency updates before we, again, jump into the real good stuff? I'm going to breeze through some of these. Okay. Some of these are just meh, but I'm just going to say Dearness Johnson, Cleveland Browns running back, went to Jacksonville. Please don't be nervous for Travis Etienne. That's silliness. Jamison Crowder went to New York to the Giants because they didn't have enough medium receivers on that team. Nelson Aguilar went to Baltimore. I don't know, maybe. Brian Edwards, blast from the past, is in New Orleans now with the Saints. Marvin Jones is a homecoming to Detroit.
That's right. Going back home.
That's fun for sentimentality, not so much for fantasy, I don't think. So here's the real ones that I want to talk about. Okay. Mecole Hardman goes to the Jets. So the Jets is very much a team in flux right now, obviously, but we're supposing a lot of things happen. We're supposing Aaron Rodgers finally gets traded there. And assuming that a wide receiver maybe comes back in that trade, sounds like maybe Corey Davis or something. So is there space for Mecole Hardman to be really fantasy relevant?
I don't think so, only because I mean you got Garrett Wilson, who is the undisputed number one. You've got Lazard there, that already has that built-in chemistry with Rodgers. And so I think he'd be number 2 on that team in the depth chart. So McCole Hardman would be the 3rd at best. And that's at best.
Yeah.
And I still don't think the Jets offense will all of a sudden take this huge step forward where they're going to be this high octane offense. I think they're going to want to run the ball and then allow Rodgers to make plays when he has to. I could be totally wrong. Maybe it will be a high profile, high flying offense, but I just don't think so. So no, I don't think that there's room for McCole Hardman fantasy wise. Maybe good best ball. He'll have his boom weeks, but that'd be about it.
Yeah, he really struggled to get that breakout with the Chiefs. And, it's not like that was a bad offense.
Yeah, no kidding.
So there's really no excuses for any of that. And a lot of the decluttering of the depth chart, too, paved the way. I know he had his injury concerns that happened and it limited him, but there's not a lot of excuses for me, Cole. Hollywood Titan in the chat saying to cut bait. I could see that if you want to use this as an opportunity. Once Rodgers does finally get traded over there, maybe you can ship him off for a second-round pick in your dynasty leagues. And at that point, I'd be very okay with that return because I do think it's going to be pretty boom bust.
Yeah, I mean, if you could get a second, I think that'd be highway robbery at this point.
I think you might be able to because it goes along with this next move, which is Elijah Moore going to the Browns. So Elijah Moore, we kind of thought, or maybe as Packer fans hoped, that he would be coming back as part of that trade for Rodgers. I don't know if it was impatience or just wanting to get more out of there, but he goes to the Browns. So that does at least pave some way for a new receiver with the Jets. But now Elijah Moore competing with Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones, playing with Deshaun Watson. Elijah Moore, is this an upgrade for him compared to where he was?
It could be, only because Deshaun Watson is a better quarterback than what they were playing with the Jets last year. Although with this offense,
don't say that about Mike White.
They tend to be a run-first offense, the Stefanski offense there. So will this open up a little bit more now? I don't know. I feel like if anything, it's going to hurt DPJ on the team and Njoku. Rather than really hurting Moore too much. I think Amari Cooper is going to be fine. He's still going to be the number 1 on that team. So I'm not worried about him at all, but I think Moore steps in as the number 2 on this offense.
Yeah, I actually love the call out about this affecting David Njoku because he is also a pretty nice big play fella to have there. But there's a lot of overlap with roles now in Cleveland, almost to the point where you think they should switch philosophies or start to transition out of that run first philosophy because of it. Like,
and
you
maybe
start adding
they will.
this personnel, right? You'd think, but that's also hard to assume. And you can really get caught flat-footed if you do that and they go, oh, nope, psych. We just added it because we want them to open all the space for Nick Chubb to run roughshod. And that could certainly happen. Here's an interesting one. Tight ends, we're always craving any good news for tight ends. And really that just means any sort of change of teams, usually. But Austin Hooper goes to the Raiders. So Darren Waller is now with the Giants. Foster Moreau is unfortunately dealing with his health concerns. I don't think he's going to be back with the Raiders. So it's Hooper. It's a vacancy that has some meat on the bone, right?
I guess. I mean, it doesn't excite me. Ever since Hooper left Atlanta, he's just been whatever. More of he's had his boom weeks here and there. And I can't even say boom weeks. It's not like he's given us a 20-point game or anything. Like he may get you 12 points, maybe 15 if you're lucky. But I mean, it's fine. It's one of those, if you need someone to plug in because you don't have any tight ends, well, at least he's probably going to get targeted in this offense. So there's that. But it doesn't excite me at all.
To be fair, Austin Hooper was in Tennessee, where they notoriously use whatever tight end you don't want them to use.
Yeah.
and they just scattered around. So, I mean, yeah, it's bad because he couldn't stand out and he couldn't be at the top of that. But also, some of it might just be Tennessee. Hollywood Titan, you're in the chat. You should be weighing in on this. Actually, that's your team. But, you know, it's tough to sometimes bank on that. We'll see what that means for the tight ends this year. But, anyways, I don't know. I think it's interesting as a landing spot, at least for him. Obviously,
I mean, there could have been
Adams,
worse places
Kobe
to go
Myers.
to.
Yeah.
You know, this was like he is slotting into that number one tight end role on the team,
Right.
as opposed to somewhere else where he would most likely be a backup.
Right.
So there is that, but I'm just still not overly excited by this move either.
Yeah. Well, Hollywood Titan in the chat is only to get rid of him. It sounds like bye Hooper. He says, yeah, that's fair. I don't think we need to talk about it too much more. This one's interesting. We're just going to kind of glimpse into this because I'm going to talk about this team a little bit more later on in the show, but not CJ Chark. DJ Chark, by the way, to Carolina, not CJ. That's not a person. Any interest in DJ Chark?
Not really. Again, this offense, we're just not expecting a lot. Maybe depending on what Carolina does in the draft, if they get one of those, you know, gets the top rookie and we're excited about that, then maybe. But until I see that, I mean, he's probably going to get the bulk of the throws on the team because they don't have a whole lot else to throw to. So I guess from a volume standpoint, yeah, he should have some decent volume from a PPR perspective. But I think he's probably going to be like a wide receiver 3 come the end of the season. And that doesn't excite me a whole lot.
No, and I don't think, like, ultimately, I think it would have been best if he had been able to stay put. I know that wasn't realistic,
Mhm.
but in terms of landing spots, like, I'm always cautiously optimistic about guys like this because I go back to, I think it was 2020, 2019, I don't know. And there was all 3 of these Panthers wide receivers finished basically as mid-range wide receiver 3s, all 3 of them back to back to back.
Mhm.
It was Robbie Anderson, now Chosen Anderson. It was Curtis Samuel, and it was DJ Moore. Like, all of them had enough, and that was with Sam Darnold. I don't know. Yeah, the rookie being there, we'll see, because they have a vet that could play. Is Andy Dalton in Carolina? Is he who signed with the Panthers? Somebody did. Somebody that's not like a great fantasy asset did sign with them. I think it was Andy Dalton. But we'll see how long it takes for them to go with the rookie who's absolutely going there.
It is
So,
Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton. Yeah.
Yep.
So, you know, is that wonderful for fantasy? No. So we'll have to see how long it takes to get to a rookie quarterback, I guess,
Mhm.
and which quarterback that even is. Last one here. More tight end news. Irv Smith to Cincinnati. People have been hyping up the Bengals as a landing spot. I didn't get it. Do you get
I
it?
don't know. Because it's not like they've overly targeted the tight ends. And why would you when you have 3 amazing wide receivers on your team already,
Yep.
plus a competent backfield where you could throw the ball to as well? We saw big splash plays from, was it Uzama a couple years ago? And, you know, again, he'll make some plays, kind of a boom bust type player. He'll have his weeks, but it doesn't excite me that much. Doesn't do much for me. And I have to
Yeah.
see him stay healthy for once as well.
Well, I mean, that's a little unfair. He really just
It
had the
is.
one big injury
I
that
know,
he's
but
coming off of there. He was healthy before.
he was.
He was a
That's
healthy
fair.
scratch most of the time in your fantasy statistic sheet, but he was there.
That's fair.
Yeah,
All
I'm not
right,
really
all right.
interested in it though either. And it'll be a landmine somebody else can take. I mean, it's
Mhm.
going to be at the end of your draft probably or close to it, but I'm going to be probably passing on him for redraft. Dynasty, trade him for what you can get is my opinion.
Yep.
All right.
Same.
That's all the news. Still nothing on Aaron Rodgers because, of course, still nothing on some other big name players, a couple of which we're going to talk about in this next segment. So what do you think? Should we dive in?
Yeah, let's move into the main event here. As I said at the top of the show, we're talking fantasy eulogies, players' values that drop significantly or will after the NFL draft.
That's right.
So, Jake, do you want to start us off here with your first one?
I will. And it's a little painful because I was so smitten with Adam Thielen last year. But I've recognized where I went wrong. I've recognized the fault in my logic, and it's one that I wish I'd caught on sooner. But Adam Thielen is and has been for quite some time, a very good receiver, but one that is super reliant on touchdowns. For fantasy, that is a fickle beast to chase. He, over the last 3 seasons, has had an outstanding number of his fantasy points be entirely due to touchdowns. Going back to 2020, it was 33%. In 2021, it was 30%. Last year fell to 20%. And not so suspiciously, his points per game, he was wide receiver 11, and then he was wide receiver 17, and then with only 20% of his points being touchdowns, wide receiver 45. That's the connection. That's why he was wide receiver 45. He wasn't scoring the touchdowns. He wasn't getting double digits in that category, and that's really brutal. So speaking about Andy Dalton being there, that's not a guy who instills a lot of confidence that this team is going to score a lot. You know, again, whichever rookie they draft hopefully comes in and lights the world on fire. I don't believe that will happen in the first year with the Panthers. That's just not a proven track. And if they go after, say, more of a project quarterback, then that's going to be an even more difficult kind of mountain for him to climb. He's also, going into his age 33 season, we like to make the comp for any old receiver of maybe he could be Larry Fitzgerald, who was productive basically until he was 35, 36 for fantasy. I don't believe that that's the case for Adam Thielen. I think that it's the twilight. Good for him. Undrafted guy getting another chance after a pretty great run with the Vikings. Give him his flowers, but I'm not interested in him anymore. So I'd use, again, this as an opportunity, especially if you're a rebuilding team, but even if you're a competitor, probably move him off your dynasty teams and get what you can in return.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Jake. That's a good one. My first one here is someone I was very high on last year, and I've seen the errors of my ways, and that's Zeke Elliott. He is dead to me. I think he's dead to most people in fantasy, and he doesn't even have a team right now after getting cut from the Cowboys. Obviously, he will sign somewhere. It's not like he's, just got nothing left. But, I mean, you've seen him over the last 3 seasons. His yards per carry has gone down every year. He's been less and less involved in the passing game for whatever reason there in Dallas. He obviously had this giant cap hit or giant salary, which was part of the reason why he got cut. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. It's not like major injuries, but it's always something that dings him up and slows him down a little bit, which is not what you want. So I think we've seen the end of peak Zeke here, and he, like I said, he is dead to me. Unless he falls like extremely far in a draft, then maybe I would take him depending on where he lands. But at this point, yeah, he's essentially off my draft board.
There is something so harsh about the way that you just said he's dead to me that I really can't grasp. Like, I know that's the concept of the episode, but holy shit. That just came in like a sword taking off his head. For what it's worth, I mean, I'm basically with you. Like, we've had a lot of back and forth about Zeke on this podcast, and I will say, for whatever reason he's seen his target share decline is because Tony Pollard is fantastic,
right,
and should have been used in that role probably a lot sooner than he even was. Zeke has a couple of landing spots where it's like you can get usability out of him if things fall perfectly, but I have to bank on that. I basically have to bank on touchdowns. It's really the Adam Thielen thing, but with Zeke, you have to bank on touchdowns, and you don't even get the exuberant wonderfulness of Jamal Williams, let's say. Another touchdown reliant guy, but you can you can get behind Jamal.
I mean, if Zeke would have signed with Detroit, I would have said yes. I would. He would not have made this list because I would just assumed he would get like 12 touchdowns this next season by vulturing all of Swift's. So that did not happen, however. So that's why he's off my board.
That's why he's off your board. Well, you brought him up, so we might as well talk about the Lions. I'll move into my next one, and I know that you're gonna hate this. Listeners might hate it too, but Dustin's really gonna hate this because you're a big fan of DeAndre Swift. You have been historically. I've been the naysayer for DeAndre Swift, and in a lot of ways, I've been proven wrong though about DeAndre Swift up until this point. My thought with Jamal Williams was not that Jamal Williams was going to score 17 touchdowns, but that he was going to eat into DeAndre Swift's share too much for him to be really usable. And I thought part of that would be the target share as well. You know, the year before last, DeAndre Swift saw, I think, like 79 targets, something like that. I said, there's no way he's going to get that again because Jamal Williams is there. It's not because of Jamal Williams. He got 70 targets. It's just because he didn't play the full season. So that part still bore out. Here's my concern with Swift and why he's not dead to me in the fact that he has no fantasy value. He is dead to me in the fact that he will not be rostered by me in Dynasty nor probably in redraft unless his ADP is extremely low come August. And we're talking like end of the 6th round at best. You know, anything beyond that, there's no chance I'm touching him because Swift isn't going to be allowed, it doesn't seem to me, to get healthy. And they also won't use him like a workhorse. He's stuck in this limbo of you're going to be the PPR guy. I'm just going to throw Danny Woodhead's name out there again because he's a fun reference point. But he also has to compete now against David Montgomery. If they had kept Jamal Williams, I'd be higher on DeAndre Swift this year because that would say to me, well, yeah, I mean, look what he did last year, right? He's a big locker room guy. They just want to keep him because he's great for the team from that perspective. They said, no, we want an upgrade basically over Jamal Williams. We're going to bring in David Montgomery. We're going to give him a little bit more money. This is a guy who had 4 straight seasons with at least 200 rush attempts and 3 straight seasons with at least 40 targets and 300 receiving yards. Like those are really big, respectable numbers in Chicago. Jamal Williams didn't ever come close to that. He had 1 season with more than 160 rush attempts. That was just last year, by the way. He also doubled his career average last year, which was kind of crazy. And he's never hit 300 receiving yards. Montgomery is a bigger threat to Swift's workload in general, but also his receiving workload. And so I'm going to stick with the narrative from last year. That wasn't technically correct, but felt right. And I think that that's really going to be the case. And, you know, the fact that Swift had a career low 147 touches last year, despite playing more games than he ever has before, like I don't bode well for this dude. So I'm pretty much off of him.
I will say I've cooled a little bit on him. I still think he can be an RB1, but like a low end RB1. I don't see that like top 5 upside that, you know, we were hoping for. And I was hoping for the past couple seasons. So I still think he has that potential because the talent is there. But yeah, I agree with you, Jake, that it's going to be a tough call to do it with the signing of Montgomery because he is a very capable back in his own right.
Yep. All right. Who's up next on your list, on your dead to me list?
Hey, they're not all dead to me. Just Zeke. I'm a spurned lover because of that. He was my drinking buddy last year, man. I planted my flag with him and he let me down so hard.
I thought you were going to say planted your seed, by the way, with the way that analogy was trending. Missed opportunity.
No.
All right.
No, my next one is Chase Claypool. We all saw what he did his rookie season and he flashed. It was great. And he hasn't been able to come close since then to repeating that. I mean, he was still very good. He was on the same offense with the Steelers for multiple years. He kind of took a back seat there. And now he was traded to the Bears last season. which we're all like, okay, new landing spot. This is great. New offense, fresh start for him. It's not quite as cluttered of a depth chart. It's Darnell Mooney, and then now Chase Claypool is like the number 2, essentially. Like, this is perfect. Well, now they brought in DJ Moore in a trade this offseason. So he is the number 3 wide receiver on that team at best. I don't even know if he's the 3rd receiving option, to be honest, with Cole Kmet there and Khalil Herbert. Although I don't think they're going to pass the ball a ton to the backfield. And I'm hopeful that the passing offense gets an uptick this year and Fields throws it a bit more. We all know what he did last year with his legs, and it was amazing. But it's hard to say if they're going to rely on the run and like the run option like they did last year, or now that they have like a true number 1 wide receiver, are they going to air it out a little bit more? It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But Chase Claypool is, like I said, wide receiver 3 on this depth chart, and there's just not enough volume right now, in my eyes, to see any reason to be drafting him. Even for best ball, I don't know that he'll have these big blow up weeks like we saw when he had those few weeks with the Steelers where he scored like 6 touchdowns in 2 games or whatever it was. So yeah, Chase Claypool, I'm totally out on him. And I'm sorry, Chase. Mapletron.
Mapletron. See, that's interesting to me because I almost put Darnell Mooney as one of mine.
I almost put him as well.
Yeah, similar reasons. I mean, I expect by default they're going to have to throw more than they did last year. Justin Fields is going to increase that. We've seen that to some extent with other guys in his mold of Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. They all see an uptick once they get a really strong wide receiver 1. So I could see that. Here's where I fall on this argument, though, is right now, at least in best ball, Chase Claypool is going rounds after Darnell Mooney. That's the part I guess I don't understand, because Darnell Mooney and Chase Claypool have statistically been pretty much the same guy. Like all entering their age 25 season, all have almost identical receiving stats to this point. Like, it's crazy, within like 5 yards or something. And they're both just big chunk play dudes. They go about it differently. Like, how they get it is different, but they're chunk play guys. So I let draft capital usually be my deciding factor then. Chase Claypool is, former 2nd round pick for the Steelers, who also got traded for a 2nd round pick. Like, the Bears gave up a 2nd to get him. Darnell Mooney, I think, is maybe round 4, round 5 draft capital. So I don't have a strong sense of which of these guys, if either, will be super relevant, but I'm just going to err on the side of draft capital, I think.
Yeah, same. All right, Jake, who is your last one here?
Last one, another running back, Kareem Hunt, another free agent running back who has not signed. That's not great at this late stage of free agency. Somebody like him to have not signed, that's bad. And now there's an incredibly deep running back, rookie class coming in. He's competing with Zeke. He's competing with Leonard Fournette and even Jerick McKinnon, probably, for the last remaining fantasy valuable spots. And this is the list I have. I don't know, man. This is brutal. Arizona, maybe, because James Conner is like an injury risk, and they could use 2 backs. Atlanta, Chicago, if you don't believe in Khalil Herbert, or there are other signees like D'Onta Foreman, and Kansas City. And again, Isaiah Pacheco, that depends largely on your vision of him. So none of those, except for Atlanta. Atlanta seems like the standout. If you go there, fantastic. Like, you're good to go. But if they also draft a rookie, what are you doing? I don't know. All these other spots have crazy caveats, and it's just so concerning that nobody signed him. I think he's doomed to become a depth signing after the draft. And he's not like dead to me and useless for fantasy, but I can't imagine a spot that he lands where I get excited for him in any way.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. He is going to be a depth signing, or maybe once training camp gets going, if there's an injury, he'll be that signing to replace an injured player. I mean, I could see, maybe like Seattle, they don't really have anyone behind
Walker.
Walker right now. So I could see that as like a depth signing, like you're saying. He is good out of the backfield. So, I mean, he is, he's a good pass catcher. Maybe someone like Miami will sign him. They don't have enough running backs there.
I want it now. It's already become a train wreck. You might as well add some fuel onto that fire. I think that would be fun. Just do it for the memes, Miami.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, it's, as you said, it's very concerning that he hasn't been signed yet with all the upside that he's showing throughout his career.
Yeah. Unfortunate. All right. Who's your last one here?
My last one, and this one pains me. It really does. And I'm sure you're going to disagree with me on this too. But my last one is Brandon Cooks. And I love Brandon Cooks. That's why I said it really does pain me to have him on my list. But everywhere he's been to date, he's essentially been the wide receiver one on his team, which is why he's performed so well. I don't think he's lost a step. He's not old or over the hill by any means. He's getting a little bit older. I think he's like 28, 29 right now. So not extremely old by any means, but moving to Dallas, you got CeeDee Lamb. He's the number one. You've got Gallup. He's the number two. He's the third option in an offense that I don't know will take a step forward with Kellen Moore leaving and Mike McCarthy basically at the helm. I just don't trust it. And I think it's really going to tank his fantasy value. And that's not even including Tony Pollard getting his share. I'm assuming Jake Ferguson is going to be the tight end one on that squad.
You can't have Jake Ferguson cutting into Brandon Cook's targets now. Come on. Don't you say that.
All I'm saying is they like to target the tight end in that offense. They have for going back to the 90s. The tight end has always been involved.
It's Jerry's move. That's what Jerry likes.
So that's why I'm down on Brandon Cooks, and I have to bury him a little bit. Not off my board. He's not totally dead to me, but I think his fantasy value has really tanked fantasy wise. I think as a smart football move, this was a good signing by Dallas, and he's going to help their team. But I think for fantasy wise, you can't expect much out of him this year.
Yeah, I don't completely disagree with you, actually.
Wow.
A lot of it is because of Kellen Moore leaving. If Kellen Moore was still there and calling the plays, I would actually have a much rosier outlook with Brandon Cooks because I don't think his issue is that he's too far back in the depth chart. I mean, we saw him really thrive with the Rams when I don't think you could consider him necessarily the number one.
Right.
They had Robert Woods and they had Cooper Kupp when he was coming on. So it's not like he was the de facto one there. It was a little bit muddied maybe, but so I'm not as worried about that. And I think two wide receivers can definitely eat. And I would still take Cooks above Gallup because I don't know what happened with Gallup. I mean, I know injuries coming back from injury, but it was a rough showing last year for him, even considering that. So I'd still take Cooks above him. But to your point, how much are they actually going to throw the ball now that Kellen Moore, and how creative will they be? And will Mike McCarthy just ruin everything? And I think the answer is probably yes. So yeah, for that reason, I'm low on him too.
Okay. Any other last thoughts here on our fantasy eulogies?
No, we can put the roses down for him now and wish them well in the great fantasy beyond.
Now, this is just the timing is too great. I know you're not a big fan of the show, Jake, but I've started a rewatch of Schitt's Creek over the last few days, and I literally just finished watching the episode over dinner before I came down here tonight, where they have to go to a funeral, and Moira starts singing "Oh Danny Boy" at the funeral, just out of nowhere, because her husband was asked to speak about this guy he never met, and he's just tanking like so bad. So she just randomly stands up and starts singing "Oh Danny Boy." So I feel like it's I kind of wanted to start doing that, but I won't subject anybody's ears to that. Nobody wants to hear that.
I kind of do. I think you should do it.
No, let's move
But
on to
no.
more fun things.
Yeah, this is going to be way more fun. So we've got a couple in the books now. We've done our 90s alt rock bands draft. We've done our 80s action movies draft. We're bringing it into the present and talking about Schitt's Creek. That was a fantastic segue. I don't know if you meant to do that or not, but I hope
totally
you
did not. I mean, yes, I meant to totally do that.
Look, I'm going to forget the fact that you didn't just absorb that. You should have just taken the compliment, man. But we are going to move into our 2000s sitcoms draft. And I'm pretty excited for this one. We talked about it a little bit coming in before we hopped on. You hadn't really checked this out. You haven't gotten yourself a full list like you did for the 90s bands. Like you were ready with the 90s.
Oh, I was so
You're not
stoked
as
about
ready.
that one. Not as ready. I'm still really stoked about this one, but yeah, I'm not nearly as prepared as I should be.
That's fair. Well, hey, do you want to bring up the randomizer, or have we figured out at this point enough? You know, we could do some Rochambeau, we could do some rock paper scissors for this action if you want.
Let's bring up the wheel. Come on.
All right, bring up the wheel.
It's been our go-to every single time.
It's true.
Why should we change that now?
Because the wheel hates me, Dustin. That's why.
No,
actually, that's not true. I think I got first in both of those drafts, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, the wheel loves me. Bring it back. Bring back
All
the
right.
wheel.
Are we ready? Can we see it? We're good to go?
Yep. You betcha. Roll that beautiful bean footage. Big money, big money, big money. Let's do it. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Oh,
yes.
Hate this wheel.
No, you
Stupid damn wheel. How dare you? All right, let's get this thing going up. You have the first pick in our draft. Do you have your sitcom at the ready? The first one should be the easiest.
It should be, but there's so many great shows. I didn't realize as we were talking beforehand, there's so many great shows from the 2000s that I don't know. This is tough. It's so tough.
Fuck the wheel.
It's so tough. Who
it's
said
hard,
that?
and you know Hollywood Titan said fuck the wheel, and I agree with them in the chat, by the way. Here's the only thing about this. You probably know my like top 3 or top 5. Honestly, we talk about this shit all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
that's what makes this tough.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to give up 2 on the turn here for me. So you have to choose this one wisely. I will give you that. And by the way, as you're thinking this over, listeners, we talked about before this, we set the rules. The show had to be on during the 2000s. That's literally 2000 to now. So it's not just 2000 to 2009 or whatever.
Right.
And even if the show started in the 90s and bled over into the 2000s, you can use that. We're going to be not too judicious here about that. So,
well, I'm going to start off with one of my favorite shows and one of your favorite shows of all times. It's Scrubs.
Amazing pick.
Yeah. Like I said, there's so many amazing shows to choose from, but really, I mean, that one just, like I said, it's one of our collective favorite sitcoms of all time. So I would feel bad about not taking that one. It's so quotable. I still love it. Like it's one of those that hasn't aged too bad. There's some things, of course, you know, because it's going on 25 years old at this point from the,
of course,
you know, start of the season or start of the series, but still holds up fairly well. And I just love it so much.
It's a great one. I was actually just watching this. I had it on in the background. A lot of these are great background shows that we're going to talk about.
Absolutely.
Here. Like you've seen it a million times. You can just put it on in the background. You're doing laundry, you're whatever, coming up with your stats for the show, right? You can just have this thing on in the background and it's amazing. I was just doing that. I'm really glad. Well, I'm not glad because I would love to have Scrubs on this team, but I thought that you were going to choose this one first because this is my number one with my whole heart in terms of rewatchability, but also just in terms of absolute love. And so I will choose with
I could
my
probably tell you what
first
it is.
draft pick. It's
that was the other one I was
Philadelphia.
That was the other one I was really debating to be the number 1 overall pick. I mean, what's not to
So
love about that
good.
show? It's the best.
I
It
mean, they're
really
in
is.
what, their 16th season or something at this point. And yeah, there's been a little bit of a tail off on some of these recent seasons. They're not going to be rewatched by me too often, but the fact that they're still going and they're putting out quality.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite It's Always Sunny episode?
Oh my God.
Is it the one where the Halloween where Mac
The
dresses
brownout,
up?
the brownout
Yes, the
episode.
brownout episode.
Who gets pregnant?
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the one.
I think that's
that's up there for me.
That's my favorite. A close second, I think, is the houseboat or the boat episode.
Oh yeah. The
I
wacky waving and flip dance and all that.
the implication. I mean, it's just that I love that one too. But yeah, I think
So many good episodes.
yeah, Who Got Pregnant was a just classic, great episode.
It's a great one. I think the only place that we've ever diverged in that show is Who Pooped the Bed. You love Who Pooped the Bed? I do not think it's that funny. I think it's one of the worst episodes of that show. I love that show, but yeah, we diverge on that. All right, now I have this thing. I'm giving it back to you for 2. I have to play the board. All right. And you can make fun of me. You know, you talk about me trying to get clout or whatever with my drafts, like for the 90s band. But man, you just have to let me be. All right. Because I have to decide what you're going to pick next. And there's a couple I think I can get away with. The one that I know I cannot get away with is Parks and Rec.
God, you son of a bitch. I was really hoping that one you would let me have that one.
I knew if I let that go, it wasn't coming back to me. And I need
that
it.
one hurts.
I need it
hurts
too
a lot.
I need it just for April Ludgate, I think, honestly.
And
the fact that the wife compares me to Ben. Yeah.
Just finished that series. Just finished it this weekend. My rewatch. It's
nearly perfect.
And yeah, and I've told my wife, I'm like, I think this is like my favorite like sitcom comedy. Like I love it so much. I know.
Yet you let it slip to me in the second round.
I know, but
man,
I love it so much. It's so funny.
If you skip the first season, it is basically a perfect series, in my opinion. Last season got a little weird, but I've come to love it. All right, you get 2 picks now.
I get 2 picks here. So now that is off the board. Oh, let's see here.
There's some big hitters still. I mean,
big hitters.
This whole draft is going to be big hitters, in my opinion. I don't think we're going to have to scrape once we get to the last rounds.
No, probably not. I think for my next one, I will go with Arrested Development.
Fuck.
Yeah, great show.
I thought I could get that one. I really didn't think.
No way. Absolutely not.
Is this just because I took Parks and Rec and it was like a vengeance move? Is that what it was?
No, I truly love that show. Come on.
The chicken dance episode alone is worth getting this entire series on your plate.
And then I think what I will take next, I know one you're gonna take, and I'll let you have it, so that's fine.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Interesting.
But I think what I'm going to take next is going to be 30 Rock.
Wow.
I like that
out
show.
Of left field.
I really like that show a lot. It is so funny when I watch it, because it's one of, again, like you said, it's background show. Yeah. Just turn it on, and it's like I forget how funny and clever that show is. Like Alec Baldwin and Tina Fey together, like those two are just fucking dynamite.
It is great. It gets so stupid, but in a lot of the right ways. Like it gets really dumb in a lot of the right ways.
Oh, like I love it.
The Kenneth doing the leaving on a midnight train to Georgia. It's like an early season too, and it's just like it establishes how ridiculous it is.
Oh, I love it though.
I'm shocked actually at that pick though. I thought that was going to be a round 6, round 7 kind of pick. Look, man, I got no shame in my game, but The fact that I can post this out later and say that I got this in the 4th round means I'm not going to put it here. I'm going to wait just so it can look even better.
I know. I know what it is. I know what I was.
Do you know what round? You know what round 4 is for me? You know what the slam dunk is for round 4?
The Office.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure you knew.
No,
but I'm not putting that in round 3.
I know. No, I knew what I was passing up by taking 30 Rock. But here's the deal.
That's fair.
Well, no, we'll talk about it when we get there. So that's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
that's great. So what I have to decide now is, do I take the one that I really, really want? That would be on my list the next up in terms of my favorite.
Right.
Or do I chance that I get it at the turn? I think I might be able to. And it's a risk, but I don't think I can get this one. So I am going to go with Party Down in round 3.
Son of a bitch.
Look, it's 2 seasons of perfection, absolute perfection front to back. And they just rebooted it. By the way, all of the episodes are now officially out. So go ahead, get that Stars free trial subscription loaded, everybody, so you can watch the whole series. It's only like 6 episodes. Even that is pretty fantastic.
No, it is a fantastic show, and that was going to be my next pick. So I'm really disappointed that you took that one from me, Jake.
Yes, I did the right move. But now The Office gets its place in round 4. And I know when Steve Carell's not on it, it can get pretty bad. The Robert California years aren't for everybody. The Will Ferrell guest episodes, especially the Andy Bernard as boss, that's, that's not good. But I get all of it.
And that was my big reason for not taking it where I did.
That's fair. Because of your hatred of Robert California. That's what it is.
No, it's more the hatred of
King.
That doesn't bother me nearly as much as some of the other things. Like the whole like Jim and Pam, like almost getting a divorce, like that thing was weird.
Yeah.
Andy being the boss was terrible. Like all the yeah. I mean, it redeemed itself with the finale. Don't get me wrong. But otherwise, it's just like those later seasons were just not my bag, baby.
Hollywood Titan saying, we are both dead to him. Way to bring that full circle, by the way, after this. I wonder which ones we're leaving out, or if maybe that was more of a hint about The Office. In any case, you have 2 picks back up here. I'm really hoping, I'm crossing my fingers on these ones, because it can get real dangerous now.
Well, I am taking one that I probably wouldn't have taken, because I figured you were going to take it here on this turn, and that's Community.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Fuck you.
That was if I hadn't chosen Party Down, it was going to be Community. I thought that you would not have taken it here. God damn. All right.
It's a spite move for taking Party Down.
I don't hate it. That's
it's a spite pick, and I don't care.
That's most big props here for you. All right.
Yeah.
That's you dick. All right. What are you going to follow it up with now?
After that, I think this one, seeing as our show is about fantasy football, it's only correct to take a show about fantasy football. So I'm going to take The League here.
Well done. Well done. That was certainly not going to last too much longer on this draft board. So you're starting to really build, I guess you would call this depth, but again, they're just bangers after bangers here, man. It's incredible.
As I said at the outset, or before we started recording, I'm like, I don't think either of us is really going to lose this one.
Yeah.
Because they're all just great shows. Like there's so many great shows.
Phenomenal shows.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple that I think can get away with towards the end. By the way, we glossed over Community a little bit just because your dick move about the whole thing. But Troy and Ahmed, one of the greatest couplings ever on television, one of the best friendships in the history of the median. So just for that alone, that is worth it. Now, I've got one that I think you're going to regret not choosing. It's a show that I actually introduced you to many, many years ago for their magnificent Halloween episodes. I'm going with Brooklyn Nine-Nine. in the
Oh,
round 5 spots. I love me some Jake Peralta. I love me some Boyle. Another fantastic pairing, by the way. That's actually a coin flip. Ooh. In terms of Troy and Abed or Peralta and Boyle. Oh, I don't want to choose. And I'm not going to choose. So we don't have to. My next one, this is probably one, if you've ever been to my home for more than like an hour, this has probably been on the television at some point in the background. So I have to choose it now. I'm going with New Girl.
yep.
And
I was happy letting you take that one.
that's fair. That's fair. Look, Zoe Deschanel, that character is one of my least favorite on television, but everybody, literally everybody else on the show makes up for it.
Yep.
From the Cece and Winston mess arounds to the Schmidt of it all, if I can say that, and the Nick of it all. All right. You have two. I know we're getting towards the bottom. There's still so many good picks.
There are. Let's see. What should I take here?
I know what your last pick is going to be. I absolutely know what your last one's going to be. You're saving it.
So does that mean you're going to take it from me?
No, I would never be that spiteful, even though you were.
God, there's so many good shows here.
And there's, there's kind of varieties of sitcoms. There's your more traditional ones, and there's still plenty of those left too. There's also some oddballs that are hanging out. I also really want to know what Hollywood Titans is in the chat. We'll have to.
You know what I think I'm going to go with? I just brought it up earlier, and that's Schitt's Creek.
I thought that was going to be your last pick. Schitt's pick. Schitt's pick. Because you knew I wasn't going to take Schitt's Creek. I'm just not as on board.
I know. I just felt like I couldn't leave it out there any longer.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think I know which one people probably want us to take here, but
yep.
I'm not going to do it.
There's an egregious leave off, I think, in most people's minds.
Ooh, should I do that one? I just came across one that I wasn't totally off the radar. I think, and maybe, I mean, maybe I'll leave this to you. When you Google, it says it falls under sitcom.
Okay. We can use some judgment here.
Yeah. How about Big Mouth?
It's on my list. I don't care that it's animated. Yes. That is absolutely a sitcom.
Great.
Yes. So, yep. No problems, no qualms with Big Mouth. That's
nice.
Magical. If you are not into this, or if you haven't seen this, imagine like, a more, I don't know, maybe a classier version of South Park. I don't know if that's the right way to frame it, but great animated show about adolescence. Big time fan. Yep. I have my last two picks to make here. Big Mouth was going to be probably my top honorable mention. I don't think it was going to make my list overall because I have a bevy of them here. I know what my last one is because, again, I just want to rub it in. That's my last pick. And I knew that you weren't going to pick it. That's how I felt comfortable with it.
Oh,
I am going to roll with one that is very, very particular to people. Curb Your Enthusiasm. You either love the show or you hate it, and there is zero in between.
Do you want to hear something shocking?
Yes.
Never seen it.
What?
I know.
Fuck, man.
I know. I'm sure it's a show I would really enjoy, but I've never seen it. I know.
It's like there's wow. So there's got to be like 7 seasons. It's even come back. And
my wife has watched it, so I mean, I'm.
This is wild. This is wild. Well, I'm going to disappoint our chat because I'm not going to take the one that they want.
Yep.
I know this for a fact. I am instead going to go with a modern miracle, an uplifting.
Ted Lasso.
Yes, as uplifting as it is hilarious. It is motherfucking Ted Lasso. If you're not on board, and Dustin, you haven't seen this one either, and that's why I felt comfortable taking this at the very end.
And I
You
knew
gotta
it.
get
I'm
on
like,
board.
I couldn't take it because I haven't seen it. That just wouldn't be fair in
Be
my opinion.
disingenuous.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
All right. To finish this off, I saved it to last because I knew this is also one I knew you wouldn't take it ever. If we went 20 rounds, you probably still wouldn't take it.
It's the Red Hot Chili Peppers of this draft. All right,
Yeah.
now I got to know what it is.
It's Letterkenny.
Oh, yes. You are correct. I would not have taken the Letterkenny. I can't get into it. I've tried. I told you I've tried a handful of times, and I couldn't do it, man.
All right. Hollywood, I just have to know, since he hates us both.
Is it Friends?
No, I was thinking it was How I Met Your Mother.
Ooh, oh yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of How I Met Your Mother fans furious.
Yeah.
Although I understand that the ending of that was pretty trash from everybody. But
So
I
felt
thought
like that
Friends
was
would
a
get in
big-
here,
Uh,
right? Started in the 90s,
It
stretched
did.
into the 2000s.
I see it more as a 90s show though, for whatever reason. I don't see it as more of a 2000 show.
Yeah, which I think is fair too.
So
Can I
Hollywood,
say some of my
post in the chat of what one we missed.
Yeah,
here.
man, you gotta
We're
give it
curious.
to us. Jeez. I'll list some of my honorable mentions in the meantime here. What We Do in the Shadows is incredible. That's a Taika Waititi joint. The Good Place is also pretty fantastic. I don't know if you've seen The Good Place with Kristen Bell.
It's on my list. I know there's a bunch I haven't seen, and I just know I need to get
Veep.
around to it.
Veep is a great one. Archer is a great one. Bob's
All right.
Burgers, I think, counts.
Here we go. King of Queens.
I'll tell you this, Hollywood Titan. That was your number one. In college, I used to fall asleep to King of Queens because we had this little TV in our studio apartment. So, it was a bed and a couch. And we would just watch whatever channel it was because we didn't have cable. We didn't have DVDs. We didn't have nothing. But it was always on at the time that I was falling asleep. That was a good lullaby. I'll give you that.
That is a good show. It is. I saw it this last fall when I went on a little trip up north, and they didn't have cable. It was again as the antenna, and it happened to be on like Laugh TV or Me TV, whatever where they show the old reruns on. Forgot how funny that show is. That is a really funny show. So yeah, I don't know if it'd be my 101, but I do like that show a lot. It is very funny.
My back is getting weary. My hands are getting tight. Dun, 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 the traffic on the Queensboro Bridge tonight.
I still know the general sense of that opening song so much. All right. Well, we'll post this one out to Twitter as we have with the others. We probably could have went even deeper than this, honestly.
For
we
sure.
could have done a 10-rounder, but I think this encapsulates the idea.
And honestly, Jake, I'm going to give it to you. I think you end up winning this one.
You think so?
I do.
The league is not on my team. You understand?
I know.
We are a fantasy football show, and the league is not on my team.
I know. But I let some good ones slide. Like Brooklyn Nine-Nine totally was a blind spot. I don't know why I didn't pick that one. So yeah.
And you got Community. You stole, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write under my Ted Lasso King of Queens just so I can get one more vote at least. That way I know for a fact. It's my 8.5 pick is King of Queens. So there we go.
Okay. Fine. I'll let you have it. All right. Well, that'll do it again for this week, folks. Thanks, Hollywood, for joining us and sticking with us through the draft here. Appreciate you in the comments. If anyone else wants to be interactive with the show, we are live every single week on YouTube, and you can interact with us just like Hollywood did. Become a good friend of the show. Why not?
That's right.
Right, Jake? That's
Do
right.
it.
That's right. Yeah. Joining us on YouTube. Give us a rate, review, all that good stuff. Just let people know what we're doing because we enjoy doing this and we hope you enjoy it as well. And until next time, folks, we'll just see you next time.
Cheers, FFers.